ain't here. You can write the headlines, try to make amends, but news ain't news when you're buying friends. Because you bought your friends, that's pretty cringe. When nobody wanted your game, you panic again. Hey, bought your friends, that's pretty cringe. You see through the lies, but you still put the 10. Hey, bought your friends, that's pretty cringe. No one in Japan's even giving you a glance. Hey, bought your friends, that's pretty cringe. Must be nice to buy a little fake romance. Hey.
Hey! Yeah, see how I like finished the lyric? It's like some stagecraft stuff. Yeah, I had to run it by the boss. It took weeks to get approval for that. Totally, absolutely. Anyway, speaking of getting approval from the boss, it would appear that Ubisoft went and inserted their own people, their own friendlies, into a New York Times article. We'll get to the article in just a minute here, but let me introduce you to what exactly is going on to set the scene, if you will, of what exactly is the kerfuffle about this New York Times article. And so we have Learning the Law here. It's at Manga Lawyer, if you want to follow him over on Twitter. And he writes, Ubisoft, in a last leap of faith, is trying to bend reality by using a Japanese editor to defend Assassin's Creed Shadows in Japan. The Japanese people quickly caught on and exposed a Sweet Baby Inc. member of the secret journalist order. It's over. That's right, and this comes from Pukujiji. Pukujiji is like my favorite fish. It's like my favorite fish ever. It's not a real fish. It's just what this guy calls himself over on YouTube. You should check him out. It's a really cool fish. I just like listening to Japanese people talk. I don't know what the hell they're saying, but judging by the images he's showing, and his tone, I can kind of like infer that this sucks. This is stupid. These guys are getting the history wrong. And I'm sure that Japanese speakers are the same way with me, listening to the way I talk about the Japanese stuff going on in Assassin's Creed Shadows. So it's a bit of a trade-off with, I like how angry this person sounds. I have no idea what they're angry about, but I like the anger. And that's what we're dealing with here. So if you want to follow Pukujiji, there's the screen name up there. I'm not going to spell it because somebody can hack that up and make me say silly things, as if there's not enough already to do that. But anyway, translated by Google. So again, we're going to have to brace for impact here. It says, I was informed by everyone about the case of Hashimoto Kazuma. Now, the name actually reads for English speakers like you and me, Kazuma Hashimoto, but in Japanese, they flip that around so the surname comes first. That way they know where you came from. Anyway, who wrote in the New York Times article that Assassin's Creed was well received in Japan and that the criticism in Japanese text was translated from English. This is a former Sweet Baby Inc. employee, as Pukujiji has pointed out, a former Ubisoft and Square Enix consultant and freelancer writing for Polygon and IGN. All they need is Kotaku under their belt. Now, I have to be careful about this because, you know, on YouTube, doesn't like it when you misgender people, but Kazuma, you know, probably not somebody that stands up to P. Just as you saw from the intro, you know, if they have to declare it. But anyway, so you saw in the intro, this information came from Pukujiji. As you can see right here, Kazuma Hashimoto is a Los Angeles-based media critic, journalist, and narrative designer. Joining the industry in 2016, he has since gone on to write for major publications like Polygon and IGN. Major publications like Polygon and IGN. That's how far we've fallen. That is how bad it is, guys. You don't think it's bad till you find out that major publications now include Polygon and IGN. Okay, if Legacy Media wasn't a meme anyway. So here we go. Where he was nominated for the New York Game Journalism Award in 2020. On top of this, he has interviewed developers from Square Enix, Platinum Games, and Koei Tecmo. Additionally, he has worked as cultural consultant for AAA developers such as Square Enix, Ubisoft, and Insomniac. Here, he has provided insight to create more authentic experiences for audiences and helped create foundational world building for several projects. When he isn't working, he's at the beach, writing at local cafes, or finding a new spot to eat. I'm sorry, obviously Kazuma wrote this, because I don't know anybody that would write this about another person. Like, you know, OBT dubs, along with all of these professional venerations. Just want to let you know, this person hangs out at the beach. and likes to write at local cafes and likes finding new spots to eat because, who wants to eat in the same spot every day, right? Like, who would ever bother cooking at home, right? It sounds awful. Just, yeah, it's not something that one of your coworkers jots down about you on like notes about this employee. It's very much that Kazuma wrote this, okay? And there you have it right here. This person is now locked down their X account. So again, I have to stress this. I want to make sure we understand. Please do not go out and harangue, harass, or otherwise annoy, bother, pester, right? That's a nice word. Pester, Kazuma. That's not what we're here to do. We're here to mock the insanity, the bizarre, strange things that are happening with these corporations where they resist making a game of quality and instead want to ram down our throats that we're wrong for not liking their stuff that they just crap out. Okay? So you have your Kazuma Hashimoto. They say that I write a lot. Wow. Scriptwriter, critic, Japanese text, queer/he/him, Japanese text, at Polygon, at IGN, Siliconera, Games Radar, at them. Instead of at they, you remember they? Yeah, it's at them now. They've rebranded. How about that? And Kazuma works for him, apparently. Them. So, and then inverse and MMORPGs plus more than that person's email. And again, please don't bother this person. I'm not kidding. This person has locked down their Twitter account. They did not want the heat that came back from lying about Japan, so just don't bother with them, okay? It's not worth it. It really isn't. The kind of second guessing that this person is doing right now is enough. Believe me. Okay, you got to remember, these people live in a bubble. And when that bubble gets popped, it is the end of the world for them because that bubble is their world. They don't understand anything beyond its very thin boundaries, okay? And that bubble has been firmly popped for Kazuma here, okay? So let's not bother this person any further, all right? And I'm just stressing that because it's the internet, and there are people that feel very passionately about this and may want to confront Kazuma about, not necessarily the inflammatory nature of this comment that Kazuma made, but just how flatly wrong it is, okay? So just don't, it's not worth it, all right? I'm sorry that I'm annoying you by stressing this, but I see it all the time on the internet. I saw this video here, and now I'm here to bother you. So it's not from me, okay? I'm not encouraging you to do anything but laugh down in the comments with me, okay? Because this is bizarre, believe me. So we'll go on. Now, you might be wondering, what else endears this person? So you actually have this Sweet Baby Inc. LinkedIn now, all right, the real one. And this is the one in Montreal, Quebec. Now, this is right next door, down the street, same neighborhood, same city as Ubisoft, Montreal, Quebec, that is developing Assassin's Creed Shadows. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird? Just how that happens? Isn't that weird? But anyway, freelance narrative design consultant provides consultation on various AA and AAA titles under Sweet Baby Inc. Includes work on unannounced Square Enix, Ubisoft, and Insomniac titles alongside researching and crafting characters for upcoming titles for both new and existing IPs. Assisted in foundational world building and character creation for new IPs, this has included writing lore for gameplay maps and backgrounds for major characters. So I want to take you back there, just get a good look at what we're dealing with here. Okay, just so we're all on the same level, we have a person here that insists that they're a man and they're in charge of creating fictional worlds. Are you getting the Russian nesting doll effect here yet, and why this revelation is such a damning thing? Now, you might wonder, though, you're looking at this person and thinking, wow, what a completely human person that is, right? What a very human person that is there. And so why all this hubbub about what they said over on the New York Times? Well, this was a fluff piece written by Zachary Small, not even Sam. So it was Zachary, not Sam. Not Sam Zachary Small that wrote this. And it's a fluff piece. It basically attracts everybody, gathers rather, everybody's opinions that were positive about the Assassin's Creed Shadows game and compiles them here while also drawing somewhat unrelated contrasts between what you see out on social media in order to make sure that the authority of the New York Times is telling you, BT dubs, you're wrong for not liking this. You're a monster. You're one of those wrong side of history rears. So anyway, we have Kazuma Hashimoto's, response here. And what they have to say is they're a Japanese consultant and translator for in the video game industry, and this is what they said about the reception of Assassin's Creed Shadows in Japan. This is quote. This is Kazuma speaking, by the way. Was the people in the West who were upset with seeing Yasuke as a samurai. Many of the negative online comments written in Japanese appeared to have been roughly translated from English. And that's it. That's it. Okay? But what this implies, right? What this implies, because immediately following this, they move into the Japan University Health Sciences historian, Mr. Yu Hirayama. And I go back and forth on this guy. Apparently, he's got some strange connections to political parties in Japan that some people probably shouldn't be having political party connection to, especially if they're in academia. But whatever. I'm just a weird guy, right? I'm just a weird guy. You read it on Twitter all the time, weird guys like me. But basically, the way that Zachary, not Sam, the way that Zachary organized this was to make sure that Kazuma's statement about the Japanese being mostly positive about the reception of Yasuke, that it was a-okay to just, tell the Japanese that they're the first in the Assassin's Creed line to not be able to defend their homeland from the Templar and need an outsider. Intermingled with all this trouble that Johnny Somali has caused there, he's been monetizing, terrorizing the Japanese, and he just so happens to be, at the very least, a black presenting man. Okay, I don't know exactly what his ethnicity is, but he's at the very least a black presenting youth. Okay, and so he goes around and he shouts Hiroshima and Nagasaki at elderly Japanese people, young kids, all this stuff in order to get a reaction. And then people back here on Kick, back here in the United States, in the West, they pay him money to continue doing this. And it's become quite a problem. His antics, along with the antics of other streamers who were attracted to such behavior, thanks to him and others like Logan Paul, have caused Japan to have like a lockdown, right? They're having like a lockdown on, not like a lockdown of like COVID, we had to stay inside. This is more of a lockdown on where you can stream. There are signs that say, hello, you cannot have your camera open here. And there's like a whole truckload of cameras on their way to the dump now that were confiscated, right? I'm sorry, I live close to the road, so you hear everything that goes by that's above like a scooter. But anyway, the situation over in Japan is that this is a lie, okay? To put it very simply, this is a lie. And so Kazuma went out and made sure that this is reinforced, but there's a very simple statement by saying that people in Japan like this, and people in the West pretending to be Japanese do not, okay? Then you had the professor immediately following this, okay? Now, again, notice Thomas Lockley not here to speak about this. Isn't that interesting? Isn't it interesting? So what we have here is we have this sort of verification of Kazuma's statement and the placement of the article. And I know this is on purpose. Anybody reading through a news article, if you've done it ever in your life, I know there's a lot of people out there that haven't. So don't feel bad. The internet's full of things to look at rather than read. I can't blame you. But the way that these go is they form a context. You can't just blurt out information like a shotgun. You've got to create a narrative, if you will, throughout the story you're writing. So that way you have a beginning, a middle, and an end to this information you're imparting. You can't just be like, bah, 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 bah. Does Bruno Mars is gay? Right? You remember that one? There's a Game Grumps reference for you from way back in the day. Check it out. Go Google that one on your break time. Make sure your speaker's nice and loud for it, right? Everybody needs to hear it. Does Bruno Mars is gay, right? It can't just be like a smattering of information that's just out there. So basically what he did is he made sure that right above Kazuma's statement is like a acknowledgement that Ubisoft was so taken aback by the Japanese pushback on what they were presenting a few months ago that they came out and gave that big bright red apology. They were like, yeah, so it's up for debate if Yasuke is a samurai. And we just hired historians and cultural experts because it's just fun to hang out with them. We didn't ask them any questions. They just do like really killer bong rips, man. We just like hanging out with them, just having a great time, drinking, getting high. Like Thomas Lockley's a great break dancer, right? Once you get enough beers in him, man, just spins like a top. No, no. You and I both know that they hired people who were of the right mind, right? Of their thinking, Not you and I, not here in normal land, but they had that Schmidt Hori young lady who was recruited to provide them with like a cultural context to the era, and she has an obsession with Buddhist monks having improper generational separate kind of older man preying on younger man relationships. She has several books about it. Very much obsessed. It's kind of her specialty is like relaying information about these Buddhist monks who took advantage of young men. And see, that's where most of the audience is going now. They're just leaving here after they heard that information. If you're still here, feel free to hit like and subscribe, right? Like I said, I live close to the road. Try to work with it. So we're going to move on with this before something else loud drives by. And so we have learning the law again. And he says, why can't they just act normally? How can you talk about Japanese colonialism in Animal Crossing? It's a free world. But what's wrong with these people? It feels like propaganda after propaganda. And here's Kazuma Hashimoto from Sweet Baby Inc. fame, saying, hi, I wrote about Animal Crossing New Horizons and why acknowledging Japan's history of colonial rule is important to the discussion. Obviously, it doesn't cover everything, but feel free to read it anyway. And I feel terrible after reading that. Why did you do that? What does that have to do? Like, there's a ginger right there. There's an African fellow with Dennis Rodman hair. What is colonialism? Come on. They don't even speak a language. It's just random noise. Jeez. But thankfully, we did have Delibrium. I always get confused by how to read that out loud. So there's Delibrium. So there's Delibrium bringing us the news and the actual credentials on this person. And here it is in the game credits on one of these things. As usual with the Sweet Baby Inc. game, I've never heard of it and I've never seen it before. So it's not a new process. There's a lot of people out there. You're probably one of them too. Welcome aboard. Take a number. Anyway, so you got right here. You could take it right down to almost the middle of the list, but here's Kazuma Hashimoto credited as being part of the proofreading and additional writing crew on whatever game this is for Aloha Studio. Wonderful. Thank you, Aloha Studio. You've done wonderful work. Wonderful. I'm full of accents today. But anyway, we got Permaband here. And, favorite of the channel, please feel free to go out and follow at GiveMeBandHammer. That's Permaband. Great resource of information on what's going on in the gaming world and basically SJW shenanigans and mainstream media. Go ahead and follow this person. Great resource of information. And so, again, quoting most of what Kazuma said in the New York Times article, Permaband says this: Assassin's Creed Shadows is actually well received by Japan, and people protesting it are just Google Translate posers, coming from the Japanese journalist consultant Kazuma Hashimoto. Okay? So, Permaband goes on to say this and says, turns out the Japanese journalist who made those claims is a Californian. That just keeps happening. It's really weird how that just keeps happening. Like, whoops, took a wrong turn in Albuquerque. Whoops, took a wrong turn in Guam on my way home from the grocery store. What an isekai story, right? Like, you get hit by a truck and you wake up in America. That's for free. You can make that and make $1 million on it right now. That time I became an American. That time I got hit by a truck and became an American. Anyway, back to this poser. So, is a Californian who works for Ubisoft as a culture consultant and freelances with Sweet Baby Inc. You'd think Ubisoft, who respects Japanese culture and history, would think twice before hiring someone who spent most of their life in California as a culture consultant for Japan. Too big an ask, apparently. Ironic, too, that this journal has the gall to accuse others of being posers. Doubly ironic and hilarious is that it's a Japanese YouTuber who is calling out the Japanese journalist, quote unquote, for being a poser in this situation. Again, we're going back to Pukujiji's comment about this. And finally, we have Scratch Point here. So, what Scratch Point brings up about all of this is some backstory, some lore on this person. Now, you've noticed I've been very careful with how I address this person and their pronouns, okay? Because I don't want YouTube to crash this channel because I said the wrong thing about this person. So, I'm going to be quoting Scratch Point from here, YouTube, okay? So, it's not my fault. I didn't say this. Scratch Point said it. Based or not, okay? Based or not. So anyway, Scratchpoint says Kazuma Hashimoto isn't this person's birth name and most likely taken from an anime. Kazuma has apparently worked for Sweet Baby Inc., as we found out, as a consultant for various companies, also assisting with localizing scripts. Now, you hear on this channel a lot about this. Miss Nerdigans, our anime consultant, raves about this because these people are changing this stuff over, not just in like, we're inserting the agenda. They're going even further. They're inserting cringe into the middle of this. You're watching 90s anime with flip phones and like ye olde Priuses in it and stuff like that. You know, round headlights. Remember round headlights way back in the day before they got all LED stabby and stuff? Yeah. So you're watching that anime, and all of a sudden, some kid just rips off about Riz and Among Us, and it takes you right out of the anime. You're like, oh, no, this isn't happening. Imagine watching like the first Digimon series with all the 90s references in it, and then all of a sudden they just start talking about Among Us in the middle of it and start dropping Zoomer lingo like Riz and Kuh. But anyway, you've got this is another case of someone who wasn't even so much as raised in Japan using partial heritage to lend credibility to their views while imposing an obviously westernized mindset on Japan. So like I said, Kazuma's account is locked down, so I can't go and show you what this person has posted. Thankfully, Scratchpoint managed to grab some stuff before this person locked their stuff down. So Kazuma writes, "Happy Trans Day of Visibility. I'm Kazuma, half trap. It's been a long day. It has been a long day." So it says, "I'm Kazuma, half Japanese trans man who works in translation and journalism. I write media analysis primarily concerned with video games and Japanese pop culture. I dress like an Ayami Kojima character in my spare time and moonlight as a VTuber." So look out there, you might get banned off of Twitch. Be careful there, Kazuma. Be careful. They're banning VTubers left and right, and well, I don't know. VTubers, doesn't really matter what you look like in real life, but I don't know. You kind of look like somebody that might get banned. Look like somebody that might get banned. I don't know. And then they go on and say it again. They have another post about this. It says, "Happy Trans Awareness Week. I'm a trans man who writes about politics and examines pro-imperialist propaganda in media, specifically video games, and occasionally post pictures of my cat." Wow, how quirky. How quirky and strange. Wow. That's just what a dude says, right? But anyway, Resident Evil's most unsettling theme isn't zombies, it's eugenics. Really? The zombie dogs? The T-virus? All that crazy stuff that sunglasses guy that I can't remember the name of right now. You're going to see that happen a lot around this channel. I'm sorry. Sunglasses guy had to say about all the crazy things in the world and just basically Umbrella Corporation running the entire planet like BlackRock. Weird, right? Weird. Anyway, so I don't know. I'm not impressed by this person. Let's put it that way. So you're getting the picture, though, of why I've been careful about how to speak about this person. Because, again, YouTube will kill this YouTube channel if I go too far here. So you'll have to forgive me. We just cruised over 20,000 subs. I'm not in a mood to sink the channel over this person, okay? So here is possibly where the name came from, okay? So it's possibly from Cheer Boys, a series by Ryo Asai. Asai, I think that's how you say it. He's a first-year sociology, not sociology. I think that's like an Italian course, but sociology. A student at Meishin University and a member of the male cheerleading club Breakers. And if you notice, our friend over here that works for IGN and Sweet Baby Inc. has kind of styled themselves to sort of look like this character a little bit. Granted, the hair's down because walking around with your hair anime spiked up is something you only did in like 2002. That was over very quickly. It was over very quickly. But so you've got now like, okay, so obviously we're going for this effect. We're aiming for something similar to this character. Maybe not this character exactly, but because again, Kazuma Hashimoto, not exactly a rare name combination, okay? It's not up there with Nakamura, all right? It's not up there with Nakamura. Nakamura is like the Smith of Japan, okay? So that's not that proliferated, but Kazuma Hashimoto isn't exactly a rare name, especially in anime. So again, they're showing off the credentials of this person. And of course, we've got this now expanded one because we only got up here to the foundational and major backgrounds of the characters. Now we have worked collaboratively. I know how to speak English, I promise. Worked collaboratively with teams to create authentic representations of marginalized individuals with constructive criticism. I bet it was. Offering suggestions for teams to implement through various brainstorming sessions and sensitivity reading. Wow, sensitivity reading. Thank goodness we have Kazuma Hashimoto, not the cheerleader, but journalist that's not from Japan but claims to speak for Japan. It's a very long story, okay? So we're going to go down a little further here. We got helped localize game scripts. Game scripts to not only make sure the original intention of the character dialogue stayed intact, but also grammatically correct in English. I doubt that. I doubt that strongly. This is just a person. This is a little tiny, like a little guy on my shoulder. You know, a little devil and angel. But instead of devil and angel, I've got the little doubt guy, little doubt meme on my shoulder. It's like press X to doubt. If you made it this far in the video, press X to doubt that they're doing just regular old localization. Honest. I'm not putting Among Us references in here. I'm not putting the message. I almost called it what it really was. But so again, here's another post from this person, just kind of clarify what was going on. And so this is back in 2017, and Kazuma writes, the Iceworm Festival was created in Cordova, Alaska, my hometown, during the 1960s as a way to ward off winter blues. And this person goes on to say again, Kazuma Hashimoto writes, sorry, I'm just used to a gallon of milk costing $4 in Alaska, and then $3 in California, and then $2 in Oklahoma, and then back to $3 in New York City. All right, so again, like, this person is not from Japan, but is now being framed by Zachary Small, not Sam, Zachary Small, as an expert, or at the very least, speaking for the majority of Japanese people. I don't know about you, but I think this has kind of gotten over the hill. Like, bots was something I expected, but now going out and just kind of spoofing a Japanese person, could they not find someone who's authentically Japanese to say this? That's an interesting thing, right? So even Ubisoft Japan employees could not get someone tangentially, in their 6 degrees of separation in Japan, they could not find a soul to turn over to Zach Small, not Sam, right? Not Sam. Zach Small, in order to write this New York Times article. Consider that for a minute. That not even Ubisoft Japan staff members could get their family to lie about this, okay? That's something. They had to go find an Alaskan that claims to be Japanese in order to do this, okay? That's the status of Ubisoft, though. That's where you're looking. They're buying bots to go out and speak highly about their creations, and then they're hiring people like Kazuma Hashimoto to go out and say that all the Japanese everywhere all the time love Yasuke, they love Assassin's Creed Shadows, and can't wait for Ubisoft to take a big old steamy dump right on their culture. And we know that's not the truth. We know that the Japanese are in an uproar. You just look in this comment section. Look in any comment section we have here on our Assassin's Creed videos. You can jump right over to a playlist that covers this whole thing. We've been storing the videos since we started covering this. You can check the comments. We have a constant viewership from Japan that tunes into this information. You want to know why? Because it's not that discussed in their media yet. Japanese media doesn't concern themselves with silly things like this. But they will soon when that game arrives and it's finally front stage, front and center on what these people have to acknowledge about it. There's no more avoiding it. Again, I can't say that all Japanese media is conflict avoidant, but considering this is something that originates in Canada and France, it's probably not something that makes it to the national news. However, when the game launches and all of this is, in their faces, as anybody and everywhere can see it then, they're going to have to acknowledge this stuff. And I don't know what happens after that. There's a lot of people in Japan that feel very threatened by the West right now and coming in and rewriting ancient history, rewriting family lineage, and then like having Japanese historical figures head smashed by Yasuke. It's not even like an honor killing. He just takes out a big old metal club and smashes their head like Gallagher. You know, like you expect the other villagers to break out a poncho to keep like the slurry from splashing over onto them from that. And of course, he's got a hip hop soundtrack in the background because, you know, Sengoku, the Sengoku era in Japan, just down with 90s boom bap, just down with the drum machines, right? That old rolling drum machine. Japanese are all down for it. And that's not to talk about any of the stolen imagery that this corporation has gone around just pilfering anywhere they can, throwing all sorts of Asian architecture and history into Sengoku era Japan because it was just too boring for them. It was just too boring without all this stuff that never existed in that time. We had to make it more interesting for Western gamers. We had to steal Yasuke's name and put like a clown skin on him in order to make him interesting to Western gamers. You don't understand. We needed non-Japanese eyes. These people, they drive me up the wall. I don't know about you, but until the next one, guys, good luck out there.